So Apple just dropped its latest financial results, and wow, the numbers are big. But behind those massive headlines, there's a way more complicated story going on. We're talking about global wins, some pretty serious new challenges, and really, a company at a major crossroads. So let's dive past the hype and dig into what the official documents really tell us about where Apple is headed.
Okay, so first up, let's just hit you with that main number. Ready? $102.5 billion in just 3 months. That's not just big, it's an 8% jump from last year. It really sets the stage for how mind-bogglingly huge this operation is.
And you don't just have to take my word for it. Here's what CEO Tim Cook had to say. He celebrated this as a record-breaking quarter, and he specifically called out two powerhouses, the iPhone, which, is still king, and the services division, which just had its best quarter ever. That right there, that's our first big clue about where the real growth is happening.
Okay, so that massive $100 billion number, it really comes from two main engines inside the company. And each one tells a totally different story about Apple's present and, more importantly, its future.
Let's break it all down, because understanding this split is absolutely key if you want to get a handle on Apple's entire strategy and what they're planning for the future.
All right, here's the balance of power. The products division, that's the physical hardware we all know, brought in nearly $74 billion. But then look at services, which pulled in almost $29 billion. Now, yeah, it's the smaller piece of the pie for now, but its growth is insane. And its profit margins? Much higher. That's exactly why Wall Street is obsessed with it. It's predictable money, month after month.
So let's get specific. On the left, you've got products. Think iPhone, Mac, iPad, and all the wearables like the Apple Watch and AirPods. That's the traditional heart of the company. But on the right, that's the future growth engine, services. This is everything from App Store commissions and iCloud storage to Apple Music subscriptions and the fees from Apple Pay. This is the ecosystem, right? It's the glue that keeps everyone locked in.
Okay, so we know how they're making the money. But where in the world is all this growth coming from? Let's zoom out now and take a look at the global picture.
This chart really lays it out. The Americas, that's the giant, making up 43% of all sales. Europe is super strong too, at 28%. But see that slice for Greater China? It's 14%. That's a huge, incredibly important market for them. But as we're about to see, it's also becoming a real headache.
And boom, here's the real story, right here in the growth numbers. Look at this. Europe, Japan, the rest of Asia, all posting amazing double-digit growth. The Americas are growing nicely too. But then, you get to Greater China. Sales didn't just slow down, they actually shrank by 4% compared to last year. This is the first big crack in that shiny armor. It's a huge red flag about the economic and competitive pressure in one of their most important markets.
And that slowdown in China? Well, it isn't the only thing to worry about. Despite all the record-breaking revenue, Apple's own official filings paint a picture of a company that's navigating some very, very serious risks.
Yeah, this is where we move past the flashy press release and get into the nitty-gritty of their 10K report. This is a legal document they have to file, where they tell investors everything that could possibly go wrong. And trust me, what they're saying in there is fascinating. And Apple really lays it all out on the table. They're talking about intense competition, geopolitical stuff like trade tariffs, and how much they depend on their really complex global supply chain. But that last one on the list, evolving laws and regulations, that is quickly becoming one of their absolute biggest threats.
Case in point, the Digital Markets Act, or DMA, over in Europe. This is a brand new sweeping law that's basically designed to rein in the power of big tech. And for Apple, it's a direct hit. It fundamentally challenges how they run the App Store, forcing them to allow alternative app stores and payment systems on the iPhone for the very first time. That's a huge deal.
And look, the DMA is just one front in this war. Apple is fighting massive legal battles everywhere you look. You've got the Department of Justice here in the US suing them for being a monopoly. You've got the EU investigating if they're actually following the new DMA rules. And they're still dealing with the fallout from that big Epic Games lawsuit. Any one of these could reshape parts of their business.
So, let's pull it all together. You've got these incredible, record-shattering profits on one hand, and this perfect storm of legal and global challenges on the other. Which, of course, brings us to the final billion-dollar question.
So what happens next? With record profits, but also record challenges, what is going to define Apple's next chapter?
Is that powerful ecosystem, that brand loyalty we all know, is it enough to get them through all these headwinds? Or are we about to see regulatory pressure and geopolitical tensions finally force a fundamental change in how one of the world's most powerful companies operates? Now that is the story to watch.